producing electricity, and all the motor scooters charge up the batteries on the electricity. Sound like a good idea? It does sound like a good idea. There are some efficiency issues, though, with distributing the power. You lose some efficiency. So the engine part is definitely much more efficient if you do this. But distributing that electrical power around, storing it on everybody's bicycle or motorcycle, right, putting that out there, that reduces the advantage. So it's not always clear that this is really an advantage. It's a nice idea. It also puts all of the pollution in one place, which is another nice idea. So you take the gas turbine and you go 20 kilometers outside of town somewhere and have the gas turbine out there, and inside the town there's no engines. It's quiet, there's no smoke. Yeah, it's a lot more pleasant. Right? Everybody should be happier. But nobody in the world really does this very well. In most places in the world, everybody still has their own little engine. It's very inefficient, it's dirty, makes a lot of noise, but everybody has it.
Do you have one?
Do I have one? I don't have a motor scooter, I do have a car. I skipped one. Oh, here it is. Okay, Journal of Engineering, Materials, and Technology. Okay, self-explanatory. Obviously, materials is a big one. Journal of Fluids Engineering. Here's a little bit of a change in the expertise. So this guy, who's the editor of this one, instead of being at a university, he works at something called Los Alamos National Laboratory. So this is a government research laboratory, the U.S. government research lab. So he's a government scientist instead of being a university scientist, but he's an expert in this field. So he's still part of the peer review system. Journal of Fuel Cell Science and Technology. Okay. So remember, there was already a journal called Energy Resources, I think. So it was general for all energy. This one is specifically for fuel cells, only for fuel cells. Another university guy. Journal of Heat Transfer. We talked a lot about heat transfer. Heat transfer is always an issue in mechanical engineering. My first job, when I finished my bachelor's degree, my first job was to work for a jet company, a jet engine company. And I worked on this part. Okay, and so on this part, there's air coming in at high altitude that's maybe on this side of the engine, minus 100 C. And about, maybe 1 meter later, that air is 2000 C. The metal that's made of has an enormous amount of heat transfer going on. Right? And metal likes to expand in the heat. So the hot part is trying to get bigger, and the cold part doesn't want to get bigger. And so there's a tug of war between the metal, right? It's internal to the metal, and it cracks. And that wrecks a lot of jet engines. Right? So it's a huge problem. That's what I worked on. That was my first job, was working on that. So Journal of Heat Transfer. Journal of Manufacturing Science and Engineering. Journal of Mechanical Design. Okay? I think this is getting closer to what a lot of people think that all of mechanical engineering is something like this until they really start to realize how many different specialties there are. Mechanical Design. Journal of Mechanisms and Robotics. Okay. The Journal of Medical Devices. Remember, we already saw a Journal of Biomechanical Engineering. So biomechanical is maybe a broader thing. You can study lots of different things. This is specific to devices, medical devices. Journal of Micro-Electromechanical Systems, or MEMS. How many of you have heard MEMS before? M-E-M-S, this word. This is becoming another big subfield, right? Because most machines are going to be run by electricity. There are some that are run by petroleum, some very important ones. I don't mean to say they're not important. But inside of a factory, inside of a manufacturing operation, on the line, almost all of the equipment is going to be run by electrical power. So mechanical engineering and electro engineering, electrical engineering are very closely tied together. And MIMS is the field where you study that interface, the micro electrical mechanical devices. Journal of Nanotechnology in Engineering and Medicine. Okay, so nanotechnology, everybody knows that's becoming huge. Journal of Offshore Mechanics and Arctic Engineering. Now, offshore mechanics, right? So, yeah, there have been a lot of proposals to generate electricity somehow using the power of the ocean, which in theory sounds like a great idea because the ocean has an enormous amount of power in it. How can we get that power out cleanly, turn it into electricity? So, offshore mechanics, Arctic engineering. The Journal of Pressure Vessel Technology. We talked about pressure vessels, how important they are. Journal of Solar Energy Engineering. So this is kind of interesting. It shows just how important energy is. There was a Journal of Energy Resources. There's already been a Journal of Fuel Cells. Now there's a Journal of Solar Engineering. So that's really already at least 3 different journals that have something to do with energy inside of mechanical engineering alone. Journal of Thermal Science and Engineering Applications. Everybody knows what thermal means, having to do with heat, right? Journal of Tribology. What is tribology? Yeah. Who said that? Yeah. Does everybody know what tribology is? It's friction. Right? Friction. That's, again, an enormously important topic in all of engineering because there's always an energy loss because of friction. Things rub together and it reduces the amount of energy available. So to get rid of that somehow is always a help. And what happens when there's friction? What is the result of the loss of mechanical energy? What does it turn into? Heat, right? So thermal engineering shows up over and over again. Tribology is tied into thermal engineering. It's also tied into energy engineering. Journal of Turbo Machinery. Again, something like this. Turbo Machinery. By the way, look who's the editor of the Turbo Machinery. GE, that stands for General Electric. That's a huge company. General Electric aircraft engines. There's really only 3 major aircraft engine manufacturers in the whole world. General Electric is one. Can you name one of the other ones? Boeing makes airplanes. Fair? Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce is one? Yeah. And the third one is called Pratt & Whitney. Pratt & Whitney is actually the oldest one. Okay? So Boeing makes airframes. They're called airframe. I don't know if you know how the airline industry works. It's kind of interesting. But Boeing makes something, let's say Boeing makes a 747 airplane. Okay? So I'm Vietnam Airlines. I decide I want to buy a Boeing 747. I buy the airframe from Boeing. But I'm free to shop and buy whatever engine I want. So now I can go to the different engine manufacturers and decide which engine I like. Have them put the engine on the airplane. Likewise, inside the plane, I can decide the seats. How big are they going to be? How close together? Do they have audio-visual aids? Does it have video? How much is first class? How much is business class? How much is economy class? How much room do I put in for suitcases? All of that, it's up to me. The airplane manufacturer, Boeing, builds the airframes, the shell. But it's up to the airline to decide how to configure it. Okay, Journal of Vibration and Acoustics. What is the Journal of Vibration and Acoustics? What's a vibration? Yeah, it's shaking, right? It goes back and forth. And what's acoustic?
How something that we hear.
Yeah, it has to do with sound. It's a special kind of vibration. But again, I think that's a really important topic for humans. Right? I think it has a lot to do with human comfort, acoustics. Like right now, there's a lot of background noise. There's the air conditioner makes some noise. The projector fan up here makes some noise. Right? All that background noise. If you ever go by yourself deep into the forest somewhere, it's amazing how quiet it is. It doesn't sound right. You know, if you're used to living in a city, you hear the horns blowing, you hear cars going by. There's always some noise. So a lot of machinery produces a lot of noise. It's a big issue. I personally think it has a lot to do with the quality of human life to reduce the noise, reduce noise. So here's a whole journal, Vibration and Acoustics. I'll tell you about a special job that I had. As a professor, I get hired a lot as a consultant to do research projects. One of the biggest car companies in the world, I won't say which one it is, but you've heard of them, believe me. They had a problem with one of the cars was a little bit too loud on the inside, and people were not buying it. That was a problem that was worth millions and millions of dollars to them. They wanted to sell this car, and people wouldn't buy it because they thought it was too loud. So they hired me to help them figure out how can we make this car quieter. And it was a lot of money, right? I don't mind telling you. I won't tell you how much. I'll just tell you it was a lot. And I had a lot of good students at the time. I hired a bunch of my students to help me. We formed like a little company. We did this project for about 4 or 5 years. But it was all about one model of car and how to reduce the sound inside. It was worth millions of dollars to them. Okay, I think we're at the end. Yeah, mechanical engineering we talked about already. That's the general magazine. Okay. Questions or comments? So I think I counted 27 journals just from ASME. So I erased it already. I had AIAA up here. AIAA doesn't have 27, but they probably have something like 15 specialties in aerospace. Society of Automotive Engineering, they probably have something like 15. Okay, these journals are always for the specialists, and it's really where the state of the art. You know this phrase? Are you familiar with that phrase? It's a good phrase to know. Very good phrase to know. State of the art. We talked about engineering being art. The state of the art means the most advanced. This is as good as it gets. The state of the art is the very best. What's the state of the art mobile phone these days? iPhone. Okay, that's your opinion. I won't argue with you. iPhones. The state of the art mobile phone system nowadays. 4G, right? Now it's up to 4G. That would be the state of the art, right? What's the state of the art automobile? Well, who knows? I saw a Ferrari yesterday. You don't see those very often. I don't know if that's really the state of the art, but it was a pretty cool looking car, we'll say that. Okay, so state of the art means the best that there is right now. This is as good as it gets. So these journals, the idea with these journals is when you do something that has the potential, like push the state of the art a little bit farther on, right? You can move the state of the art. You put the information in this journal so the other experts in the field can do it. And I think even if you don't want to start reading the ASME journals, I still think it's important for you to keep an idea of at least what are they called, because that tells you what the current professional community of mechanical engineers, this is how they view the profession, how it breaks out. So if you join ASME as a mechanical engineer, I would encourage you to do it. It has 120,000 members. If you join, you pick one of these journals that you would get. So it gives you an idea of what kinds of specialties you might select. Well, that I don't know the details of how much you have to pay. Yeah. Okay. Any questions about the? So I was thinking that as an assignment, something that might be fun would be to divide into teams according to the specialization. So everybody, I think, can go to the home page. I wrote it up here because I erased it. www.asme.org. Find the list of journals and select the title of the journal that sounds to you like the thing you're most interested in. Okay? Just one. And then take a look. These are all links. You can click on these things. You can click on the names. Take a look at the bigger description of that journal, more than I showed today. You can see who the editor is, how many times does it come out per year. Most of them come out every other month, 6 times a year. Some of them, 12 times a year, some other number. Okay? And just take a look, just learn a little bit about your journal. The thing you think you would be interested in, take a look at it. All right? No assignments. You don't have to turn it in. I think it's something you should do because you're interested in it. Just find out a little bit about it. Okay. Thank you. What's that?